Okay, we are live. This is Yankees Unloaded, and I guess saying we are live is probably the worst thing you could say because people watching after the fact know that we are, indeed not live if it's 5 a.m. or whatever. But I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr., and we are here to talk about a Yankees win that is worth celebrating for. Gary, we hate the Astros here on this channel. This fan base hates the Astros. The Yankees hate the Astros. So. Winning 5 straight against the Astros in 2024, is it a sign of the times? Is it the Astros are bad? Is it the Yankees have their number? I don't know about you, but I feel like the Juan Soto pickup when they got him, obviously he can do invaluable things. Don't get me wrong. But one thing that he comes equipped with, and we said this, is that he is really good career-wise against the Astros. And that's going to be great in the playoffs. But Gary, I found myself watching this game and like, are the Astros going to be in the playoffs? I think it's actually a fair question to ask because it's, we're in the second month and obviously things can turn around, but they are 12-23 and they honestly don't look like they have any chance of winning on the road. They look like one of the worst road teams in baseball. So I do not want to take away from what the Yankees did today. But I think it's definitely fair to bring up. It's almost a good thing. Like, we're not even complaining. Like, if the Astros are bad, it takes that team out of the equation. But it really makes you wonder, are the Astros, in fact, just a bad baseball team?
It used to feel trolly when they lost. Yeah. So we'd go beat Houston. They'd fall behind in the division. Because, by the way, this is not the first time Houston's fallen behind in the division. But this is the first time we've seen them in 5th place. This is bad. Okay, and for the most part, if these numbers serve me correctly, Houston's just not getting outs. And like I told you before this game ever started, I told you this yesterday, Jake, I told our audience, Justin Verlander's stuff is not what it was. I'm not just staring at velocity. I don't really think harping on velocity is the best indication of stuff. I know for Rodon, it maybe is, and seeing 98, 99 for him is spectacular, but for other players, it's spin, it's depth of breaking ball, it's location. And I felt like watching Verlander, just seeing him on tape, I told you before the game, I don't see him getting through this Yankees lineup. And that's saying quite a bit because we're struggling. Aaron Judge is starting to heat up, but the signs were all there for a rout. I made the prediction that we were just going to absolutely demolish this team. We did. We came out and took care of business. And the best part about it, it almost seemed like guys were comfortable in the batter's box. And I know it's easy to say when you score 10 runs, but you saw in the first at bat of the game, Anthony Volpe taking the ball the other way, balls caught at the wall, but it seemed like guys were taking comfortable swings all day outside of maybe Gleyber Torres. And it's a good thing to see when you're seeing Aaron Judge making an impact. You're seeing Juan Soto be the best hitter on this team. If we're scoring, we're winning. So I had an idea we were going to score today, and if we're scoring, the game's pretty much a wrap. So I felt really good about this one, and for the first time ever, I feel like there's no doubt about it that we are the better team between us and Houston.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a conversation about that early on in the season, and I think it was definitely a fair conversation because it's like, oh, it's it's early on in Houston, all this. I mean, let's be honest here. If the Yankees have a 10-run game, they're not losing. If they had more than 5 runs, more often than not, they're going to win. And to see them hitting like this and to still see a guy like Luis Gil pitching the way he's pitching, it is a really good sign for the future. And look, I understand the hitting has been a problem, but, you look at this team right now, Judge has his average up to 222. Volpe's hitting 250. Now, he was hitting over 400 at one point, but he's going to settle in here. I see it. I think he's going to settle in. He has better at bats. He's taking better swings. They're more level. That home run today was not an uppercut swing. That was a level swing that we've seen from the likes of Juan Soto, and he hit that opposite field, and that was great. He needed that. Juan Soto, speaking of which, he's now hitting 329. Remember the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, he's hit 316. Yeah, that's what we're getting out of Juan Soto. Verdugo hitting 275. And man, when he gets a hold of one, he can hit him just about as hard as anybody. I mean,
that was a goal for him, by the way. because I don't like to just say, okay, the Yankees need to get guys who have high batting averages, but at some form or another, you need to look down the lineup and you need to see more 270s, 280s.
I
It
agree.
needs to make sense. Trust me when I tell you, just because a guy's hitting 280 doesn't mean he's a great hitter in the league. But excuse me. But let's be clear. You can't have everybody hitting 220. Everybody can't hit 220. You can't just look at ops plus. You can't look at slugging percentage. At some point or another, and I know Verdugo hit a home run today, but his mission is to put the ball in play. We talked about it the other day. He puts the ball in play more than any other player in Major League Baseball. There's a reason we brought him in, not just because he's left-handed. He's a different style. He's a different breed. And the Yankees needed that. So I'm not going to say that he was just the solution for the Yankees, but he's part of the solution. He's part of a different mentality, something that Juan Soto also provides, because when you watch this Yankees team, it's not a bathroom break every time they come up to the plate. It used to be 2 years ago, hell, even last year, if the 5 through 9 hitters were coming up to the plate, I would just go to the bathroom. Not worth watching. Sorry, it wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't a grinder at bat. It was completely void of expectation of adjustment. And I think that anyone in the chat would tell you nothing's more frustrating than watching guys do the same thing and expecting something to change. The Yankees finally, personnel-wise, are making adjustments. Guys ultimately have been cold that we expected to perform. Now that guys like Aaron Judge are starting to make an impact, Verdugo starting to put the ball in play, all like pretty much essentially what we expected him to do. Now this lineup is starting to take its shape. And here's some interesting stats. These stats, by the way, Jake, these surprised me. I'll be honest with you. The Yankees this season, according to StatMuse Major League Baseball, they are 3rd in home runs, 6th in ops, 7th in total bases, 8th in average, 8th in runs. If you told me that this team was top 10 in runs, that would have surprised me, given how often the New York Yankees score 4 or fewer runs, because they almost lead baseball in that category, but they also almost lead baseball in over 5 runs, which is surprising. It kind of goes to show you where we are in times in terms of baseball. They're struggling to score. I don't know if it's the baseball. I don't know if it's spider tack or cold weather. I have no idea what it is. I don't know what conclusion to draw, but those numbers are actually more promising than I expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think the offense, and this is kind of the realization I had over the last week or so, offenses are down around baseball. Now, if you watch the Dodgers, you never know that. But that's how they're built. That's how they're built to win, but not everyone else is. And so I think that's kind of the importance here, is kind of understanding, like when you really think about it, scoring runs is down all across baseball. It's not just the Yankees. So 5 runs is good enough to win most games, in the MLB. And the Yankees, I mean, Gary, what would you give it, like percentage wise? If the Yankees score 5 runs, I mean, I would say they probably win 80 to 85% of the time.
I'd probably say 90.
You go up to 90. Okay.
Yeah. Which, if you said the same thing about the Dodgers or any other team in baseball, that percentage goes down. It's still probably a 60-40 contest. A lot of teams in Major League Baseball, if you go pull up the scores, there's teams giving up runs. Like left and right. And to be honest with you, the Yankees just really don't give up runs. We are surrendering the 2nd lowest batting average in baseball. Part of that is because of our bullpen, what we're getting out of Victor Gonzalez, Dennis Santana, Clay Holmes having a historic start to the year. But also, guys, we have to give credit to the starting rotation. The same rotation that we said was short in personnel. The same rotation that we said potentially might need a Blake Snell or Corbin Burns or Shane Bieber. This same guy, like all these same guys, are actually giving us output, and they're dominating. That's just flat out what it is. And this is without Garrett Cole. No impact from Garrett Cole. He's not here. And we're expecting him, I would assume, mid to late June, if I had to give you my best guess. That's a good sign. That's something that I don't know if anybody was expecting. I think, Jake, we both thought that this team would be underestimated on the mound, but I don't know if anyone thought it would look like this.
No. I mean, there's no way you could have. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Because even say you're right about the starters, and we were very, very high on the starters. We thought they deserved a shot. We were high on Heel on this show. We were high on Schmidt. But even if you're right about the starters, who would have thought the bullpen losing Loizaga as early as they did would be able to do what they've done? I mean, he was a key component of their bullpen. You could say what you will about they got used to him getting hurt all the time. Does not matter. He was supposed to be the reason why they felt better about moving on from a guy like Michael King. That was
we also lost Wandy Peralta. Don't forget that. He was a key contributor last year. So we were trying to figure out, and we did say this before our actual pod, before the season started. We actually mentioned this, Jake. The Yankees and really no team in Major League Baseball, they don't really surrender guys like Michael King or Wandy Peralta unless they're pretty sure they think they have a replacement. And based on what we're seeing, at the very least so far, we are finding replacements. And you cannot give people enough credit in our staff and our general management because, again, it's difficult to shower Brian Cashman with praise given what he's done since 2009, because it's been a dumpster fire. It's been bad overall, not good. But having said that, just because he's been mostly bad doesn't mean we can't see something good in what he's done. So I'm trying to give him credit where it's due. And yes, DV, Michael Tonkin touching the mound, that was essentially when I was about to ready to turn the game off, and I did. So yeah, he's the extra man on the roster.
Yeah, he's something else. So Thomas Edwards says, yo, Trastros, Astros have no pitching. Confidence is gone. Penn sucks. And Yankees offense is starting to click on all cylinders. I don't see anything wrong with that statement. I mean, their pen is not very good right now. The confidence seems lost. This is a team, if they don't, figure it out, I'm telling you right now, if the Yankees sweep again, that could be the knockout blow. DV, hey guys, what's up? What's up, DV? Appreciate you being here. Thomas Edwards brings up Birdie, looks good as well. We're going to have to talk about Birdie. I agree. I think he looks better than he did earlier in the year. That's saying something. Maybe the injury gave him some time, just to kind of recuperate. He was thrown into the fire here in New York. I mean, to be fair. Big Blue in the Bronx. Love those guys over there. They do a great show as well on the Yankees and on the Giants, New York Giants. Luis Heel looked really good tonight. Probably one of his better starts. That's the funny thing, is that I guess statistically you wouldn't say that. But if you watch the game, Heel had way better command of some of the games in which he had 9 strikeouts in, wasn't walking as many guys. And he's somebody who, again, only gave up 1 hit, and he gave him 6 innings. And we talked about Gary, like, he's had a hard time getting through 5. He's a guy that runs up that pitch count, and he's at 4 1/3 or 4 2/3, and we're just sitting here defending him why he deserves a win normally. But we're not complaining about him not being able to get through it, because what he does, he's been invaluable to them. But today, to give up 1 hit, essentially the long bomb to Kyle Tucker, who is mashing the ball. Probably the only good thing right now about the Astros is Kyle Tucker. He has 10 home runs on the year. His ERA, by the way, Gary, dropped below 3 in this game. Yeah. It's now at 2.92. So,
well, I think we always knew that he had the type of stuff to be an ace, but it was a matter of what his command looks like, and how is that command going to develop. And what was so interesting about today's start actually was through 3 innings, he was at 64 pitches. He was incredibly inefficient, especially in that 3rd inning. He threw about 35 pitches. He couldn't get off the field, and you can kind of see what he was trying to feel out there. He wanted to pitch around. He wanted to make sure that Houston didn't put up a crooked number there in the 3rd. He pitched around Alvarez. Obviously, Alvarez fouling the ball off his leg. He ends up staying away from him and getting in the next hitter. I thought that was very smart. It was a very patient way to go about your business. And again, guys, this is partially why I said I really like Luis Heel in the starting rotation, because it allows him to work in the games and be patient with at-bats. When Luis Heel is going middle in the zone, that's when he can get hit. That's when he can give up the long ball. But when you allow him to face more hitters and go more into length, he can settle in the games and he can pick his spots. When you allow Luis Heel to pick his spots in your lineup, you're not scoring. You're just not scoring. You're not getting hits. And that's what's so interesting about his stuff. He's an easy 98. It's not he's revving up to throw 98 miles an hour. No, he was dialing back earlier in the year to get his command to where you see it today. And he was throwing 97. We were talking about, oh yeah, he dialed it back today to 96 miles an hour. That's the type of stuff that we like to see. It's the reason the Yankees really held on to him, didn't want to part ways with him. I thought that was a really smart move from Cashman. And by the way, Jake, also slightly off topic, but this is from Houston. This was their general manager earlier today, Dana Brown. He was asked if the Houston Astros would potentially be sellers if they continue to lose. His answer being, I can't predict a scenario where we become sellers. This team is too good. What's so interesting about that answer is it's not an answer at all.
It's not.
But he didn't say anything.
But what's funny is by him saying that, right, everyone just assumes it's an answer because they just fill in the blanks like it's Twitter, which doesn't exist, by the way. But, they fill in the blanks. So they'll be like, yeah, we're too good. Okay, but what does that mean?
Back to the question. What the question is, would you be sellers if you continue to lose? And no point in that answer did he answer the question, which tells me
that doesn't help a locker room. That does not help a locker room, because I think at that point, I'm not saying it's a long shot, right? Probably not going to change the course of anything right now because they're just bad. But had he come out and said, absolutely not, I believe in this team, we're going to go and we're going to win this division or whatever, right? Even if you don't really believe that, putting that out there, I think it would have generated some confidence in a team like, Thomas just mentioned. They're not confident right now. They have no confidence whatsoever. The only one who's confident
didn't even lie to us. He could have just lied.
No, the only guy who should have any confidence in this lineup, Altuve, he's batting 336, and Kyle Tucker. That's it. That's it. I mean, I don't know. It's what I think we're starting to see. I mean, and also, let's be honest here. I think we also give the Astros too much credit because they've been great for a while. It's the same thing with the Golden State Warriors. When you start looking at that Golden State Warriors team, you're like, Klay Thompson that name doesn't hold as much weight as it used to. Steph Curry is still Steph Curry. But then you look and you see some of the other guys and you're like, Podziemski or whatever. And you're like, and I had that feeling today where I was like, maybe this actually makes more sense than we realize.
Did they not feel like the Astros to you today?
The Astros put out guys like Cabbage and Caratini. And it's like, that's not the Astros that we used to hate.
You know what I will say, though, in their defense?
And Bregman's hitting 195. So
yes, statistically, that's just atrocious. And I would assume they're not going to sell low on Bregman. But here's the interesting part about Houston. Just to give them credit, because I always have tried to give them credit over the years, and much more credit than what people expect me to give them, is that a lot of times I'll see Houston throw a name out there who, frankly, I don't recognize. And we had this same conversation about the Rays earlier this year. And Pepio, who the hell is that? Who is that guy? I have no idea who that is.
He came from the Glass Now trade.
Right. So I'm supposed to pretend. See, I'm supposed to pretend as a podcaster that I know who that is. I don't. And then the crazy part is you'll see Houston and you'll say, oh, well, hold on a second. They lost Carlos Correa. That right there. We took Garrett Cole. Now's our time, right? That's what we all said. We're taking, not only are we adding Garrett Cole, we're taking their best arm. And then what do you see? You see Valdez come out the system. Who the hell is this guy? And then
Jeremy Pena comes out of nowhere, and then Pena, 300.
He's hitting 313. So that's my expectation with Houston, because their pedigree says we can lose top end talent and we can find a way to put guys out of our system or make a trade, and that guy is going to be an impact bat for us. And you kind of saw it last year. It was like Abreu didn't really do anything for him, and then that kind of unraveled. which is weird. Their pedigree was to squeeze the lemon and get the most out of their talent. And this was the first time, I think, maybe in a while, that I watched the Houston Astros and it didn't feel like, because I can be completely honest with my audience. I at no point the last 4 years thought the Yankees were a better team. Not once.
No.
And that's me being honest with my audience. I don't want to sit here and lie and say I expected us to win a World Series every year. I didn't. And, there were certain times where I think maybe we can get them here. Maybe we have an opportunity here. We get close and we can make them pay. I thought we were a comparable team to make that happen. But at no point did I show up to the yard and say, we're going to beat the brakes off this team. We showed up today and we were the best team. After I saw Volpe fly out to right center, I said, this team's got no damn chance. We are going to be taking it to Justin Verlander today. We did exactly that. Luis Gil, one of our youngest studs, goes out there and shoves, gives up one hit. He was pretty inefficient after 3 innings. He says, I don't give a damn. Better player, more talent.
It shows the maturation with him too.
It really does.
Like you mentioned, he gets down in the pitch count. And you have to know as a pitcher that's hanging over your head. We all know it. That's the way baseball is nowadays. So instead of trying to be upset and pitch through it and, waste more pitches and strike out, I think he was throwing more hittable pitches and trying to get ground outs and trying to generate soft fly outs. And I think we saw that. We saw the adjustment. It's how he was able to get through because, like you said, he was already at 60?
He was at 64 pitches through 3 innings, which is not great.
That is not mathing, though, because he ends up finishing with 97 in 3 more innings after that.
That's
so
right.
That tells you that he had to take a shortcut and be a little bit more. And obviously, takes 2 to tango. If they can't hit the ball, that's going to be a problem. But generating that soft contact, which he was doing, I thought had a huge, play in that. And so, that's what I'll say there. But talking about this Astros team, Ronel Blanco had that no-hitter, and I feel like after that, people immediately were like, "Oh, the Astros are fine. This is gonna help them and everything." He's been great. Okay, he's undefeated. He's 3-0, pitched 38 and 2/3 innings.
Mm-hmm.
He has a 2.09 ERA and an under 1 WHIP, and he's the only one on the team with a over 1.5 WAR on the pitching side of things. Okay. Hunter Brown has been atrocious. 8.89 ERA, a 2.20 WHIP.
He usually has pretty good stuff. He's like going through a Severino situation. It's bad.
JP France, 7.46. And then you have Framber Valdez, 3.97, who's still, in the threes, but not quite as dominant as he's shown he can be.
He's in his Nestor Cortez situation. He's then showing to be hittable, which he wasn't.
You have Christian Javier. He's great. He's consistent. They love Christian Javier. He's pitched 4 games and he's had 4 quality starts. It's about what you would ask out of him. But really, my point here is that they're not hitting well. And they're not getting the pitching the Yankees are getting. So what we've seen is the Yankees can have these games that kind of make the averages look a little bit better in their favor. Have they been the most consistent offense in baseball? Absolutely not. Not even close. But because they have games like this where they pour it on, and they've had quite a few this year where they just absolutely explode, then the next day they win 1-0. This helps those totals. This helps those averages. The problem the Astros have is they don't have any of this. They don't have the 5 runs. They don't have the good pitching. It is not good in Houston right now, and it is a problem. And you mentioned Bregman. He is going to be a hot bat at the deadline. I think he's 100% going to be traded. There's no way he re-signs. They talked about it. I think it was, oh God, I forget the guy for Fox, but
they're pretty
reporter
open,
there.
Though. Let's be honest, though. Houston will tell you their plans. We knew Carlos Correa probably wasn't going back to Houston. They pretty much told us that. They told us that Garrett Cole more than likely is not going to be resigned here in Houston. And they tell you their plans. So that's what's so interesting about this organization is that they don't necessarily fake it around the locker room and say things that maybe are untrue. No, they kind of just let you deal with it. And, maybe that works and they're being more real. And then maybe it's a mistake, because I can honestly tell you, Alex Bregman, you're going to be selling pretty low. You're talking about a player who's hitting a $195. Bregman looks pretty lost up there. But one thing I know for certain, he's been a great postseason at bat. And he reminds me actually a lot, Jake, of Cody Bellinger's tenure in LA, because we're talking about a player who was an MVP in 2017. Or was it 2017 that Bellinger won MVP?
Sounds about right.
Okay, regardless of which year it was, Cody eventually had the shoulder injury in the postseason. He was not the same player in Dodger Blue. After that, everyone said there is a shell of a man, a shell of an MVP in Cody Bellinger. And every single Dodgers fan, of course, you're going to find a small niche of them, but the average Dodgers fan said it's time to move on. He goes to Chicago. I'm sitting there talking to his people, and he's saying, hey, I'm feeling a little bit more healthy. I'm ready to go. But also, I'm going into a new locker room with confidence, a locker room who actually believes in what I'm doing, a locker room that potentially would commit to me long-term. Of course, long story short, they do commit to him long-term. But that confidence was enough to get Cody Bellinger into the player you see right now. That's what Bregman seems like he needs. But I guess when you're talking about, if you told me Alex Bregman was going to hit in a $195 and his ops was going to be 535, if Bregman was in our lineup, he essentially would have the worst ops. He would be basically sitting next to, he's having a Gleyber Torres. He's hitting worse than Gleyber Torres.
Yeah.
That's bad.
It almost makes you wonder, if Bregman was available in the offseason, do you think the Yankees bite? He fits what they like and what they want to do, and maybe
I would say no.
Maybe you move Cabrera to second base. Because to me, if you do it, you're essentially choosing him over Torres. This wouldn't be instead of Soto.
Right. I just don't know.
I'm not saying I would. I'm curious because he feels like a type of guy that they would go after.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he wouldn't be a decent fit, but I mean, the fit would be better than Josh Donaldson. So you never really know what Brian
you and
Cashman
I would be better at third than Josh Donaldson there.
Let's be honest. I mean, Josh Donaldson was a defensive specialist because he was pretty good defensively. He played well defensively.
Yeah, but he was in the lineup. That was the problem.
Yeah. You can't just have a DF, a designated fielder. That's what he needed to be. So
do you know how good he would be if he was just a DF?
He'd be great.
Yeah.
He would be great.
We just created something, DF.
But in my opinion, the Yankees really can't afford to go bring in a guy who's probably like Bregman's going to cost $10+ million for a dude who hit under 200 for the first.
I'm saying though, I think he's a name to monitor. I mean, if they get kind of crazy next year and they're like, oh, well, we already, because I mean, here's the thing. If you go over the luxury tax, it's over. Like at that point, you might as well just spend on what you want to spend on. It's and we already talked about how they just completely, anybody who spends money, they penalize in the draft. So, you're not getting a good draft pick anyway. So it's like, why not, make the most of it? But another thing I want to say, and I found this really fascinating. Josh Hader has 3 saves. He has 3 saves. He's only pitched in 15 games. He has 3 saves. He's 1-3. He's got a 6.14 ERA. He's not even pitching well. We talked about him being one of the most feared pitchers in the league. That one series they had, Gary, when he went toe-to-toe with Soto, I'm going to say it right now because I know this is what the fans want to hear.
You think that undid him?
Juan Soto broke him.
Oh, my God.
He's done. GG's. Game over.
Dan, I'm really sorry to remind you about Josh Donaldson, but Jake, I really do think... It's
Jober, man.
I do think you've got an argument because part of closing, I mean, a lot of it's got to be confidence related, right? Not saying it's all confidence related because I think that would be a stretch, but Clay Holmes, if you told me second half Clay Holmes like last year, he doesn't even look like the same person as he does this year. Not the same person. And I can honestly tell you, having watched Clay Holmes every single day, and he pitches a lot for this team. I've seen him go out there. He came out there early on. Those couple of those series, I said, oh, he looks wipe out. This is the Clay Holmes. He's fresh, very clear on screen. Then all of a sudden, maybe 2-3 days later, I'm watching him give up back-to-back hits, bases loaded, nobody out. We get a double play ball, and then he gives up a fly out to the track. That's what Clay Holmes was. And by the way, that's why our chat and a lot of Yankees fans in general were complaining about needing a closer or needing another arm. We were covering that. We were talking about it. So that's just what's so interesting is that some of these closers, they can go through a week and a half of a strong stretch. And next thing you know, they just ride it out to having a strong month and a half to be an all-star, as you like to put it. They have a really good
Don't even get me started, man.
An all-star. But would you guys think about that, Jake? People were asking us about going to get Miller from Oakland, right? Which we'd love, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Going to get these guys because they're saying, hey, I want somebody a little bit more reliable than Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes hasn't given up a run the whole year.
Clay Holmes is the most reliable pitcher in baseball, regardless of closer, relief pitcher, or starter. Statistically, he's the most reliable. No one else has a 0 ERA that has actually pitched 15 games. And by the way, I just said he pitched 15 games. He has literally, I'm not kidding you, he has literally pitched the same amount of games as Hader. And he has 11 saves.
You can't
and
argue
Hader has 3. And guess what? Okay. Because I'm not a fan of throwing hyperbolic statements out there. Oh, Soto destroyed him. And no, I can back it up. Ready for this?
What's up?
So until that game, that fateful night, when Soto had the double or the home run, I don't remember. He had the big hit. It was just a hit, I think.
Are you talking about the bases clearing double down the line?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an L. That was the first loss of the year for Hader, right? Before that, he struck out 5 in 2 innings.
Oh, you're talking about Soto, his single to left.
Yes, his single to left.
Yes.
So after that, in game 3, well, I don't know if it was game 3. I can't tell. But he pitched obnoxiously 3 out of the 4 games, even though they didn't have a save opportunity.
Right.
So Soto has that bases, that huge hit to the left field, right? Mm-hmm. Down the line. Then you go into April. Josh Hader's ERA is 7.45 after that. 7.45.
Wait, what's his ERA right now?
His ERA is 6.14. Juan Soto broke Josh Hader. Like you can't tell me otherwise. He broke Josh Hader. Hader's done. It's over.
Michael Tonkin's better than Josh Hader?
Every pitcher in the league apparently is better than Josh Hader.
Holy hell. I'm not trying to be funny, but that's the numbers. And I'm not saying he is, but could you imagine spending $20 million? Because there were people who wanted, there was definitely an opportunity. The Yankees did kick the tires. They were interested in Josh Hader. Could you imagine that? Which, by the way, just to be fair,
he can turn this around.
Easily could turn it around because we have to remember this is not the first time Josh Hader's done this. Josh Hader has been atrocious for San Diego. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He showed up to San Diego, and I remember my grandma used to text me, and she's like, pardon my French, she's like, this motherfucker sucks. He sucks. She would call me and say that. He stinks. You told me he was good, and she was like almost mad at me. She's acting like I'm on the field.
I just looked at the stats and I saw, I get it. I mean, he went to the Padres and fell off a cliff, but he started off his career with the Astros, and we were talking about him like, the Yankees won, but I don't want to see Josh Hader like ever again. And sure enough, after Soto hit that, the shot down the left field line, he has not been the same. And obviously, when I say that, I'm talking from a full, a sample size, because it's not like he's never struck a guy out again. It's not like he's never had a good inning again. But we're talking about a guy who looked so dominant to start the year in those limited opportunities, looked unhittable. And he gave up 9 runs in 9 2/3 innings last month.
Yeah, but Dan brings up, actually, in a joking way, he brings up a really good question as to whether or not Josh Hader with Matt Blake, and what would he look like? Because that is an interesting prompt. He probably would be elite. And
he'd be elite.
Doesn't that make you feel good?
It makes you feel good. It also just reminds you to stay humble, because this is a guy that could easily be a manager next year. And I already thought he was going to be a manager at this point. You know, Matt Blake has been around longer than I anticipated, Gary. I thought he was a one-year thing. I thought he was just going to be like Mickey Callaway, who just gets plucked immediately and becomes a manager. The fact he's still with the Yankees, I mean, I know this is very unlikely, but bro, do you realize how much gold the Yankees struck if he decides, you know, I don't want to be a manager. I just want to be a pitching coach. This team would never go away.
Okay, because
pitching would be unstoppable.
So Nest 33rd, he has a point that it's not all, and he doesn't dampen in his statement what Matt Blake's doing, but he's saying that some of this, and I agree, some of this could be.
Pro scouts are really good.
100%. Those pro scouts with you don't go get these guys in the market and then just say, hey, pitching coach, do your magic. There is some element, like there's some element of the mathematics and the,
of course,
and logic there. Into
like Santana. How the hell do you find Santana? That's pro scouting. Those guys are on the road. Yeah. Clay Holmes, Brubaker, if he ever becomes anything. They're not just trading for these guys willy-nilly. And another thing that people need to understand is that they have games to prepare for during the season. So it's not like Aaron Boone sitting there and watching Dennis Santana tape who's like, I need that guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like basically what's happening is that pro scouts are on the road, and they're different. They're not guys that have anything to do with the draft. Pro scouts are pro for a reason. They go to games all around the country. They watch Major League Baseball games. They look at certain pitchers in their area. It's, you know, broken up based on region. And watching these guys, jotting down their notes, you know, getting on Zoom calls with, you know, Brian Cashman and maybe Hal Steinbrenner occasionally, maybe, you know, Aaron Boone, and letting them know and be like, hey, you know, this guy could really help us. And basically Brian Cashman saying, okay, I can try to make this work. Maybe I don't make this work, but, you know, maybe we'll hold on to this for the trade deadline. That's their job. Obviously there are scouts for college and, you know, all of that. That's different. That's for the draft. But the scouts, the pro scouts, are scouting all over the league. They, you know, it's not tampering, because I know people think that that's tampering. It's not. They are in attendance at Dodgers games that you wouldn't even know. They're in attendance at, you know, Guardians games. They're in attendance at Rangers games, and they're watching these arms and they're watching these bats, and they're like, this guy could be, you know, he could really assimilate into the Yankee culture that we're trying to build. And if they come down to that, you know, realization or whatever, then they're going to reach out to Brian Cashman, or Brian Cashman is going to task them to be like, hey, find me this guy and find me this guy, because I need this, this, and this, you know, and if we can get this, then we could accomplish this. And so there are goals set out there. They're, you know, basically kind of firing from the hip as well. So if you're already at the games and somebody stands out to you, which is totally normal, Gary, you could be there to scout, you know, a bat. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't
need to be Mason Miller, because this is the thing. No. It doesn't really take a good pro scout to turn on the game and say, hey, who's that dude who's Nolan Ryan?
No, anybody can see that.
Right. But to Ness's point, there are a lot of guys, frankly, manager's got so much on his plate, he couldn't possibly know all these different dudes. Not possible. I know Boone is probably, if we put a mic in his face, he'd tell us, oh yeah, I knew this guy. I knew that guy. I saw his sinker and how much depth it had. He doesn't know. Yeah. Because if you ask me, I wouldn't know either. I wouldn't be able to tell you, hey, who projects in 2025 as being a really good fit for the Yankees? It's not just, does this guy have a sinker? Does this guy have a little cutter mix? Does he have a straight changeup that Matt Blake likes to use? No, it's deeper than that. It's also spin rate. It is arm angle. It is, does this guy compare to another player that we already have on our roster? There's all types of decisions that go into play. And then the finishing effect, like basically the, I guess, dessert is that Matt Blake is their pitching coach, and he helps maintain us with our baseline. which if you look around our roster, we've got guys from excellent to Garrett Cole all the way down to Michael Tonkin. And with all due respect, but here's the great part. Man. We are going to get the best version. Do you remember who was it that pitched for the New York Yankees? Remember the lefty we talked about who was just absolute wet ass? Who was it? The lefty. You remember that? And he ended up going to the Dodgers.
He's wet ass. Oh man.
He was buns. Yes. Okay. Andrew Heaney. Okay. He was
dog.
Okay. Everybody remembers how bad he was. But here's the crazy part. I feel like if he just joined our team right now, we would get the best version of him. And that's something that I feel comfortable about. Like, that makes me feel comfortable. I don't feel like our scouting department necessarily is going to change that. I feel like Matt Blake actually knows what he's doing with anybody. He was horrible.
The all caps.
And he was horrid. He was so bad. And by the way, he was so bad, I actually enjoyed his tenure.
It was kind of a meme.
Funny. I enjoyed it because it's the second he came out there, just to see the bitch fest going on Twitter was a joy to my heart. It was so funny.
It was like, I mean, I always say this. You remember Boone Logan? I swear that guy gave up like. He wasn't Lou Trevino. Like, he would give up his own runs. Lou Trevino is the greatest guy ever because you look at the stats and he has like no earned runs given up because they're like, oh, bases loaded. I'm going to give up all of them. And that guy's going to have to inherit them. They're like, he was the king at that. But Boone Logan would come in and give up just bombs. And you'd be like,
I like him and Brooks Hiskey, or what was his name?
Oh, Krisky.
Yeah, bro.
Why does that make me think of that one? It's like the the breading, like what am I thinking of? It's like the brand for like the breadcrumbs. It sounds like a breadcrumb brand. Krisky.
Krisky? I have no idea. I have no idea. All I know is Brooks was a human victory cigar for the other team. As soon as he came in, it's time to hit the exits. It's time to call your mother. It's time to beat traffic.
Hey, he
was never in an important situation.
Speaking of the guy who's turned it around, Ron Marinaccio, man.
Yep.
He has been stellar. He's been excellent. 1.54 ERA, 0.69 WHIP. He's walking nobody. He's getting great movement on his pitches. I mean, and he looks so confident on the mound. Like the last time he was up with the Yankees last year, just didn't feel like he was super confident. Now it looks like he's like, I'm ready to take over. Like if Ian Hamilton doesn't watch it, I'm going to be right on his horse.
It's crazy how young he looks, by the way.
Oh, I know.
He looks
like
he's
my age.
Yeah, he looks like Captain America before they did the before they did the surgery. Like he just like hops in there. He's all skinny and scrawny. That's how he looks.
I just realized something. Michael Tonkin didn't give up a run because the freaking whatever the hell that ending was, the errors. It was the throwing error by Birdie.
Yeah.
That was
horrid.
I
did notice that. He gave up 2 unearned runs. That's right.
Well, it's not his fault, which is why baseball awarded him with 2 unearned runs. So I mean, Stanton went yard, Verdugo, Volpe. We talked about Volpe's, which I thought was the most impressive, but
well, you realize Stanton, that was the hardest hit ball the whole year.
I didn't know that. That
was 119 miles an hour, basically.
Thomas Edwards hates Tyler Clippard. Not as much as National fans. He was way worse on the Nationals.
Tyler Clippard.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, I remember Tyler Clippard.
He had good stuff. He had no location. That was his issue. He'd like hang a breaking ball, bases loaded. You'd be like, no. And in slow motion, you'd watch your 4-run lead become a tie. Like it just in slow motion, you could see it happening. And you're like, oh. But yeah. Remember?
Wait, no, I'll give you the exact number, by the way. Because they were talking about Kyle Tucker's homer being a rocket. There was 108, which easily went out in the short porch.
Yeah.
But Stan's home run was 118.8 miles an hour.
Ow.
That is destruction.
If that hits your bone is disintegrating, bro.
I don't get. Oh, Scott Proctor. Thank you, Thomas. That's a name I needed to hear.
I love Scott Proctor. Can we just make it like a mission every time we do this show to just mention Scott Proctor? Dude, it's good enough to mention. I mean, I loved him. Here's a name.
Oh, wait a minute.
Ready for
Did you just see my screen?
Yeah. It looks so dumb. And if you do,
so that's just down, AI. So is that just AI technology? Oh my gosh,
it looks so bad. And I love how like the rationale behind that like is non-existent, because if I've already made the sign, I don't need another. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Apple. Yeah. Let's throw another name out there that you guys probably remember from a fight. Tanyan Sturtz.
Who's that?
You don't remember him?
No.
Remember that fight with the Red Sox with Don Zimmer being tossed by Pedro Martinez?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember him. He got a cut that came all the way down his face like that. Tanyan Sturtz. I'm sure people in the comment section remember him. What's up, Ronnie? Yeah, Tanyan Sturtz. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember Kyle Farnsworth and all those guys.
It pulled up
Quantrill.
It pulled up Nation shirts. Google Google has no idea who I even tried to look up.
He got booed, I think, for wearing number 21.
Well, Brandon, let's be very clear about something. You don't just show up in pinstripes. Common sense would tell you, because this is the thing about being a Yankee. You want to get off to a really good start, because some of it is you want to get off to a hot start. And then another part of it is like, if I don't get off to a hot start, I want to be liked so that these people can kind of like help move me in the right direction and give me some momentum. But here's one thing's for certain. I'll tell you,
don't choose the Warriors number.
You don't go to the Los Angeles Lakers and say, to hell with it. I'm going to wear number 8 because of Kobe, because I'm better. I'll wear number 9 because I'm better than Kobe when he was number 8. If you told Lakers fans that, they're going to make sure you suck.
You don't even know Tanyan Sturtz. He was on the team I think your dad was on.
I know Nation shirts.
He was, dude. He was on all the teams your dad was on with the Yankees.
Just think. Wait, hold on 1 second. I have a whole bat. This entire baseball bat is signed by the 04 Yankees.
Yeah, he's on the 04 Yankees. He was 6-2.
And he's not on this bat.
With a 5.47 ERA. How do you win 6 games, only lose 2 with a 5.47 ERA? You must have been what's his face? Luke Weaver with the one pitch, one win.
Wait, but you said he played for the 04 Yankees. There's your answer right there. The Yankees scored like 40 runs a game.
04 Yankees, 05 Yankees, 06. When was the fight?
So he was there
the Zimmer fight.
No, the Zimmer fight I think was like 03. My dad wasn't on the team, I don't think. No,
your dad was probably on the team. He was in the Zimmer fight.
He was?
Yeah, no, he was in the Zimmer fight.
God, why have I never seen him then? That's weird.
Tanyan Sturtz from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yankees legend Kyle Farn.
Almost almost born on the same day I was, October 12th. I was born on the 11th. But yeah, A-Rod was in the fight. He was.
I don't really remember how the fight started. I think that's the issue here for me.
Yeah, it is kind of, it's murky. Because everybody's seen the Don Zimmer getting tossed to the ground. To be fair, I don't know what Pedro's supposed to do in that situation. He's got an old man.
Supposed to run from him. That's what it seems like.
We've always agreed on that, like, because everyone I don't think he tossed him to the ground. I think it was more he got out of the way and Zimmer kind of.
No, Zimmer was like a ladder. He was just falling forward, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, he pulled him. But.
So this is the one where A-Rod and Jason Varitek got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one? That's got to be the one. It was 2004.
Really? Well,
yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
It says AL.
So Bronson Arroyo hits A-Rod.
What?
And then A-Rod starts cussing at him, and then Varitek starts gouging his eyes out.
No, this was a different game. I'm telling you.
No.
Yeah, because I literally just pulled it up. ALCS Game 3. Okay. Yankees Clemens. I'm pretty sure this was 2003.
I'm watching your dad try to break up the fight.
Wait,
yep, there's Tanyan Sturtz. There's the blood on the side of his head.
Thank you. Okay, so Ronnie, so yeah, Zimmer was 2003 because my dad wasn't on the team. My dad was in Atlanta at that point. And
so
point,
I got them mixed up at that point. But
yeah,
then
because this was a postseason game.
The next year, though, that's the one where Bronson Arroyo plunks A-Rod. A-Rod swears at him. And then Jason Varitek's like, I need to gouge your eyes out. And then the whole freaking bench, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I know which fight you're talking about. You're talking about the Varitek fight where he like mushes him in the face.
Yeah, he tries to Michael Myers him, like the fingers in the eyes.
Yeah, in my opinion, as a catcher, you can't.
He's right there.
Did he take his mask off by that? No, he didn't. Okay, so in my opinion, you should by law not be able to fight as a catcher if your face mask is on. That's my opinion.
No, I always kind of looked at Jason Varitek as he was soft because he's fighting A-Rod with this full set of gear on. Like,
how can you lose a fight?
What kind of man does that? That's not a manly thing to do. Yeah, no, A-Rod, it was the next year. A-Rod, Gary, because I'm watching your dad was breaking up the fight. And Tanyan Sturtz, randomly, they cut to Tanyan Sturtz, and he's got this big cut on his the side of his face. It's so funny that I remember that to this day.
You'd really think my dad knew how to fight.
Did you see the video?
Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I've seen the video. No, don't get me wrong. He still scares the shit out of me, but you'd really think like my dad would be out here just kicking ass. Like what's his name? Nolan Ryan, where he's just putting people in headlocks. Do you remember the fight my dad got in with what was his name? He had that fake name. Well, like El Chapo. It was Fausto Carmona. You remember him?
Oh my God, that's
right. And he changed his name to Roberto Hernandez, and then he put my dad in a headlock, and my dad just like grabbed him, and they just went wrestling to the ground. I'm like, what?
So Kurt Schilling, at one point, your dad like shoves Kurt Schilling out of the way. And then he jumps on Varitek, who's on top of A-Rod. All of that weight on A-Rod there. Oh, my goodness. So your dad was on him. Derek Jeter comes over. He's on top. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Roundhouse kicking everybody.
I miss the Red Sox being decent.
I know. You can't even have this anymore.
No.
It's funny. People always used to be like, this is disgusting to the game. I was like, well, here's one thing. Everyone's going to be talking about it. It's going to bring more eyes to the game.
Well, wait a minute. How can anyone in their right mind say that stuff right there, like that exact moment in Major League Baseball is disgusting? Because isn't it interesting how all the fighting in the NBA, all the super hard hitting and late hits and dirty plays in the NFL that you can pull up on YouTube right now, and then all the dirty late slides and the catchers being run over and the punches being thrown in the 90s and early 2000s, all that carnage, and we were all watching it a lot more than we are today. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it interesting how people always say there's nothing better than a fight in hockey, and then they immediately are like, but it has no place in the game of baseball.
No place? What's the danger? They go, someone can get really hurt out there. I go, tell me when they did.
Yeah, well, I mean, couldn't somebody get really hurt if a 102-mile-an-hour fastball goes off their head? That's how these fights happen. Do people not realize that? Most of these fights happen based on a pitch. It's, if anything, it's retaliation to a potential injury.
I tell them to go watch the UFC. Dudes are doing flying, like literally kicking dudes right in the temple. And they're just out ice cold, and the dude just like,
I totally
punching the sky, and they're like, oh my God, he has no idea where he's at. And then baseball fights. You mean to tell me Yasiel Puig running out and grabbing people's shirts and slapping guys with his arms is dangerous? It's not dangerous. Come on, man. What are we talking about?
We're going to have everybody talking about this tomorrow. Everybody's going to be like, oh my God, remember that time Tanyan Sturts at the bloody side of his head and Gary Sheffield going out there and tackling Jason Varitek and shoving Kurt Schilling like he was a plastic bag.
Tanyan Sturts. I have no clue who that is, and I probably should. I just don't.
No, it's really funny. I love everything about this conversation right now.
Thomas, please send that to me. I need to see this.
That is, oh my God, it's so funny. Roundhouse kicking everybody. That's the one that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I mean,
get hurt. I've seen it where a guy, they're like, hey, his knuckles are beat up, whatever, right? And he's out like a game or two, and maybe the owner's pissed, right? Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Sit here.
You have to protect your players, though. A-Rod is one of, if not at that point, he's the most important player in the Yankees, potentially, right? I would say he is. I would say him and Gary were the two best players on that team in 2004. So the point I'm making here is A-Rod's doing the same damn thing if Gary gets hit. And, you know, I feel like there has to be, like, do I love violence? Not really. But I'm one of those people, like, when I'm watching football, and I'll never forget this. You know, you see the Rams stuff in the background. Watching the St. Louis Rams in 2015, or not 2015, it was 2013. Sam Bradford is second in passing behind Peyton Manning to start off the season. He is playing better than anybody would have expected coming off the torn ACL. Or high ankle sprain it was. So he comes back and he's playing well and everything looks great. And then one day, this guy on the Carolina Panthers, Mike Mitchell, he's, you know, every time you see like quarterbacks, they'll run out of bounds, give up on the play. Sam Bradford's running out of bounds and Mike Mitchell shoves him and he tears his ACL.
I remember that.
And to me, if I'm, and one of the offensive linemen, Harvey Dahl, who was just a nasty dude, to me, if I'm Harvey Dahl, I'm literally picking up Mike Mitchell and slamming him German suplex style on his neck, because you do not do that to my quarterback. And it's the same thing. A-Rod is essentially the quarterback of your team in 2004. You're not doing that to A-Rod. You know, you plunk him, he calls you out, and then Varitek from behind eye gouges him. Yeah, I'm clearing out too. And that's the reason, like Derek Jeter, do you think Derek Jeter even has it in him to want to fight guys? No, but he's being a teammate going out there and breaking it up. And I'm going to be honest with you. People say, oh yeah, you know, those guys, I'm just not a fighter. Well, here's the deal. Okay. You're not being a team guy. If you're not out there defending your star player, if you're not out there defending your top guy, you're not being a team player. Jeter was out there like the captain he should have been. Gary Sheffield was out there, right? Tanyan Sturts was out there, for God's sakes. Now, mind you, I just said Bronson Arroyo plunked A-Rod. The Yankees were batting, Gary. Tanyan Sturts came flying in from the bullpen.
It doesn't matter who you are. Okay, so the best way I can describe this, let's just say, because Jake and I have no business in jail. Okay. Like if we were arrested and they booked us tomorrow, we would just be like I would just go sit in the corner and just pray to God no one touches me. Right.
Oh, yeah.
But let's be very clear about one thing. The second I went to jail, if somebody tried me, you got to be throwing hands. You have to, because you can't go to jail and get punked by somebody else. And the reason for that is not because you want to fight anybody, right? Like no one, unless you're just like a knucklehead, you don't want to fight anybody, but you want to show everybody else that they can't try you. If they try to push you, that you're actually going to defend yourself. If you show you won't defend yourself, if your teammates see you won't defend them, why in the world, if the Yankees won't protect like an Aaron Judge or they won't protect an Alex Rodriguez, why wouldn't you just drill them?
Yeah.
You get a free lick. You can say, this guy's not going to come running out for him. He's soft. He's going to go sit in the corner. He doesn't want to fight.
I was going to walk him anyway. Now I get to throw something at him.
Right. The second you know that a team doesn't have a guy's back and they won't fight because they're basically, as individuals, are like, I don't want to fight me personally. So I'm going to sit here in the dugout. Okay, good. Here's 99 right in the back of your neck. And then all the players are they're gonna decide what's fair in this game, and they're gonna manage how this game goes. Well, we're gonna dominate the game now because we're physically dominant over you. You're afraid of us.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't a player be afraid? If I got hit in the back by 100-mile-an-hour fastball and I turned around and look at my dugout and my dugout did nothing about it, I'm ready to quit on those dudes.
Yeah.
I'm ready to quit.
Deadline. You guys really won't come out there and support me? I mean, even like we've seen it. It doesn't have to result in a fight, but when the bench is clear, that's for show. For the most part, it's showing that, okay, we're not going to tolerate that. And next time, like this is a warning. Next time we're coming out there and we're throwing fists. No, I agree. And, you know, it's funny because our show, you know, we go all over the place and everything. And, you know, we'll probably wrap it up here, but it's just it's fun talking about this team. There's a lot of storied history, rivalries, things like that. The Astros, I think it actually, you know, kind of encapsulate what today really is. I mean, you know, we're talking about the Astros now. They're the biggest rivals. And right now they don't feel like a rival. They feel like a plaything for the Yankees this year. And kind of similar to the Red Sox. I mean, we talked about them, the biggest rival to the Yankees. I mean, until otherwise proven, you know, differently, the Red Sox don't feel like anything. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know about you, but yeah, I think I definitely wouldn't mind another, you know, really fun Yankees Red Sox renewed rivalry, but I don't know if we're going to get that. We'll see. Boston is 19-17 on the year, 4.5 games out of first place. Yankees are 24-13. Baltimore's 23-12. Tampa's 19-18. Somehow that team is not good. And then Toronto, who I think is actually better than Tampa, is 16-20. So, you know, we'll see what ends up happening. But we said it early in the season. I'm going to stand by it. It's a 2-horse race in the AL East. It's the Yankees and Orioles.
And we play Tampa next. So,
yeah. And
we go to Tampa. And I've told you this actually before the season started.
The worst ballpark of all time.
It not only is it the worst ballpark in the whole league, it's actually worse than Oakland. We just don't play well there at all. And you'd think we would, just because there would be some level of comfort being that we play spring training in Tampa. A lot of guys are comfortable over there in the Tampa area. We just forget our bats going to Florida for whatever reason that there is. And hopefully we can turn that around.
Damn TSA.
Yeah. But I will say this season seems like a year of firsts. The Yankees usually don't dominate. We're 5-0 against Houston, right? We went out there and overall, we've played very well. We've held our own against situations that we normally don't. So maybe we go into Tampa and surprise some guys. So I'm excited for it. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, we've won 4 games in a row. I don't really think a lot of people are looking at the Yankees and thinking and giving us the respect that we're due. And maybe that's our own fault. Maybe it's that we gave ourselves too much credit over the years, because right now this Yankees team has gone where they've gone with a relatively quiet bat. And I know that we brought it up earlier that the overall numbers, the Yankees offense has been really good. But to your point, Jake, they kind of exploded. And then the next 2 days they get shut out, and then they go out there and score 14 runs. So if this Yankees offense gets consistent, we're going into Tampa and we're making a hurt.
You couldn't see that. I could not contain my laughter over here.
I could see what's up.
Tomorrow's probable pitchers. You got Carlos Rodon going up against Spencer Alrigetti.
Do you know who that is?
No. I'm just going to call him Alrighty.
Who is that?
8.27 ERA, 0-3, 1.96 ERA, or 1.96 WHIP. So 8.27 ERA.
We are going to beat the brakes off this team tomorrow.
How can you not laugh at that? The Astros need wins so badly, and they're setting that guy out to the mound. What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, first of all, they didn't even
down the street from you.
They said, "Hey, are you guys selling if you guys don't start winning games?" I think we're a really good team. Starts
at Alrigetti.
Yeah, and then he throws Lamborghini out on the mound, and the guy is supposed to be getting outs. He's not getting outs. I'm here to tell you right now, Justin Verlander, came out today. I said he's going to get absolutely farted all over. He did. And then we're facing Lamborghini on was it Thursday? Yeah. It's not going to be a contest. It's not going to be a contest. We are going to fold them tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
He's pitched 16 innings and he's given up 22 hits and an 8.27 ERA. Oh my God.
Jabroni.
Yeah, this isn't. Who is this? I've like never seen this guy. But the Astros are that team. They'll throw a guy out there and he'll end up being really good, and you'll be like, "Where the hell he come from?" But now I don't think that's the case with this guy. Maybe it is. Maybe he ends up being great against the Yankees. This is his rookie year. He's 24 years old. He's a righty, which bodes well for the Yankees.
I'm not worried about this kid at all.
No. Nope.
I'm worried for him, if anything.
I don't get the rationale behind that personally. I also don't know why the odds are only minus 140 money line Yankees. This is a 210 game.
So you're telling me I should pull my wallet out?
Yeah. This is
LLC.
This is a 210 game. This is a minus 210 odds money line game. Minus 140 is insane. How is it minus 140?
I don't know the explanation to that.
Is Rodon? Do they really think Rodon's going to get like smacked? Like I don't understand. I mean,
they must.
Like the guy strikes guys out, but he gives up an 8 ERA.
Well, right now, Houston's not better at us than anything.
No,
they're not better than us at anything.
Nope.
Their offense is not better than us right now, right? Like Alex Bregman's giving them nothing. We've got more talent offensively. We've got more depth, more contact, more power, more speed. And then what? Their starting pitching's better than ours? It ain't.
Oh my God. The Yankees can absolutely break their spirit entirely. Like this will be the end of the Astros if they win tomorrow and then they win game 3. Game 3, Ronel Blanco is about the only thing going right for the Astros. He's 3-0 with a 2.09 ERA and a 0.96 whip. If they dog walk him, I mean, think about what that would do to this team. Their spirit would be broken, period. Would be absolutely destroyed.
Turn out the lights.
I mean, that's what has them going. They have that young pitcher that had the no-hitter. They can rely on him. He's pretty much an automatic win this year, 3-0. If they beat the brakes off of Ronel Blanco, like you said, turn off the lights. That's a haymaker to the temple, and they're done. And I'm going to say it. I kind of think the Astros are done. I really believe that because I don't see a lot to like with this team. I had the glass shattered for me, Gary. This isn't the same Astros team that just, was wrecking everybody. This team is just not as good as it has been in years past. And the guys that are the big names, like Verlander's falling off a cliff. We saw that today. You called that. They have guys like Blanco and, Tucker and, of course, Altuve. But aside from those three, who knows what the status is going to be on Alvarez? I mean, he looked like he was in pain. So I don't know, man. I don't think this is a good baseball team.
Yeah, luckily for them, he's a DH and he doesn't have to be out there in the field in Alvarez. But overall, I mean, you're talking about Seattle and Texas. Those are essentially the two teams that Houston to run down. I'd say Seattle is relatively realistic. I'd probably say Texas should run away with this division. And if
the Astros, by the way, they're playing like the same teams the Yankees just played. The Tigers, they have a 3-game set against them in Detroit. They're not an easy team. No. The A's are the team I do not want to play. They have a 4-game set against the A's. The A's are 17-20 now.
Because Oakland's bullpen is nasty. Essentially, if the game's close after 6 innings, you're in for a dogfight.
So Houston, I mean, evidently, based on what we've seen with Houston, that is a horrible matchup. And then the Brewers, 3 games against the Brewers, who are 21-14. And then you have a pit stop against the Angels, which you should win that. And then you have the A's again. Are you kidding me? The A's and then the
Milwaukee series. Yeah, that Milwaukee series went a lot better, and I think we all anticipated it because we gave them credit and we talked about the things.
They're still a really good team.
Very good team, and we went out and took care of business in that Milwaukee series. I was pleasantly surprised, but don't be shocked if they go out and sweep Houston. Like that's They have that type of physical capability. So
this is not good for Houston.
I
To
won't
be
put a
fair, the
fork in them
Mariners,
yet.
I don't want to say they're entirely done. If they get swept by the Yankees, they're done. That's what I'll say.
Oh, yeah, 100%. If they get swept by the Yankees, you're talking about they're going to be over 10 games back in the division. So now they're pretty much already committing to a wild card, or do we commit to that wild card, or do we trade our guys, which it probably won't be.
Bregman's on a one-year deal, essentially. So, I mean, he have to be traded.
See, I just don't like trading a Bregman when you're selling low on a one-year guy. It's like, I don't know. I probably trade one of my better assets and try and reset that way. But I guess we'll see what they do.
Desperate teams, man. You know, we've seen it. Candelario, how much did the team give up for him? Top, like 3 of the top 7 prospects. I mean, that's insane. Yeah. And that's what you see, because eventually, I mean, it's supply and demand, and there's not a ton of supply of, you know, especially guys with the experience Bregman has. There's just not many guys like that guy out there. So
yeah, but Candelario also was playing really well into the deadline. So I think that's part of the equation, which, to be fair, Jake, like, to be fair to your point, they very well know that we can just wait Bregman out. At some point or another, you would expect Bregman to look like Bregman from between now and the break. If that happens and Houston's looking at 14 games back and deciding if they want to go after a wild card, Bregman probably looks decent for a lot of these teams. So I guess we'll see.
We will see. I think that's going to do it, though. Can't talk too much about Lamborghini anymore, but
that's my new bit. I'm just going to call people by the wrong name if I don't know who they are or if they aren't good.
Well, as long as you don't call whatever Kikuchi Kabuti, because he is a curse, man. You've put a curse on this team. Just the good news is it's Toronto, so they're in last place. But that's gonna do it for us, guys. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It's been a lot of fun as always. We love doing these live streams. We love recording as well, but the live streams give us an opportunity to interact with you guys and have you guys be a part of the show. I mean, now, you know, anybody that goes back and rewatches, even if it's you rewatching, like for instance, DV's comment, that sounds like a pasta down the street from Yankee Stadium. There you go. Now that is in the show. So appreciate you guys, and be sure to like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. We're growing, but we obviously need your help to continue to do that. And of course, follow us on all social media at JK Bogan, at Gary Sheffield Jr., and at Yankees Unloaded. Until next time, guys, you guys take care.
And don't forget to like this video.